On the morning of August 13th, 2018, Chris Watts called the police to report his wife missing. But the truth investigators uncovered 48 hours later was something no one could have ever imagined.
Who have searched the family home and area with dogs say for now there are no significant...
This is a story that we have to be honest with you, we can't independently verify, but it is a story that could be extremely telling as we try to figure out what happened in the Watts family. This is a man who claims to be Chris Watts' former lover. And
On August 13th, 2018, a man stood in front of TV cameras, tears streaming down his face, begging the public to help find his pregnant wife and two little girls. The whole neighborhood rallied behind him. Police called him a grieving husband, and he almost got away with it.
The perfect life that wasn't Chris Watts was by every outward measure the kind of man you'd want your daughter to marry. He was 33 years old, worked as an operator for Anadarko Petroleum. He had a beautiful house in Frederick, Colorado, the kind of suburb where kids ride bikes and neighbors wave from their driveways. His wife, Shanann, was 34, pregnant with their third child, a boy they had already named Nico. She ran a thriving social media page sharing her family life, her two daughters Bella and Celeste, her love for her husband. From the outside, perfection, but on the inside, the Watts marriage was quietly collapsing. Chris had started a new gym routine in May 2018. In the 3 months that followed, he lost 20 pounds. He bought new clothes, he changed his hair, and he started sleeping with a woman named Nicole Kessinger, a co-worker he had met just 8 weeks before everything fell apart. He told Nicole he was separated. He told her his marriage was over. What he did not tell her, what he could not bring himself to say, was that his wife was 15 weeks pregnant.
The night, August 12th, 2018.
Shanann Watts had been traveling for work, a 5-week trip to Arizona for her MLM job. She flew back home late on August 12th, landing just after midnight. She texted a friend from the car, "Just got home, talk tomorrow." Those were the last words she ever sent. What happened inside that house in the next few hours? Police would spend weeks trying to reconstruct. What we know is this. Sometime before dawn on August 13th, Chris Watts strangled his wife in their bedroom while she lay in bed. Their daughters, Bella, 4 years old, and Celeste, 3, were still asleep in their rooms. He then drove to the oil field where he worked, Weld County Road, 49, loaded his pregnant wife's body into a truck, and buried her in a shallow grave near one of the oil tanks. Bella and Celeste, his own children, he placed inside the oil storage tanks. He drove home, made himself breakfast, and waited.
The investigation. A grieving husband on TV.
At 1:48 p.m. on August 13th, a friend of Shanann's named Nicole Atkinson called police. Shanann had missed a doctor's appointment, a prenatal checkup she had been excited about. Her phone was going straight to voicemail. Her car was still in the driveway. Something was wrong. Officers arrived. Chris let them in. He was calm, almost too calm. Later that evening, Chris Watts agreed to do a local TV interview. Standing in his driveway in a blue Survey logo shirt, he looked into the camera and said, "I want them back." I want them to come back so badly. This house is not a home right now. Within hours, the internet had already turned on him. Former FBI profilers began posting breakdowns of his body language. There was no real grief, no desperation in his eyes. He spoke about his daughters in the past tense, then quickly corrected himself. His hands were steady, his voice flat. Meanwhile, investigators had pulled something critical. His truck had been recorded entering the Survey oil site at 6:17 a.m. that morning. Shanann had landed home past midnight. His daughters should have been in school. Why was he at an active oil site, alone, at 6 a.m. with his entire family unaccounted for?
Fix this so Shanann didn't look bad. That's what I want to believe. But I don't know, you're not telling me that, so it makes me think the worst. Like, did you do that to all three of them?
I
Like,
did not do anything to these kids. I did not do anything.
what did Shanann do to them? Tell us, Chris. Chicks are crazy.
Can I talk to my dad or something? Absolutely. Do you want to bring him in here? I just need to talk to my dad. Like, I flew across the country. Hey, Chris, I can't. How about this? If we brought your dad in here, would you please tell him what happened? Can I just go talk to him? I've been in here for like 5 or 6 hours, and I'm like... Absolutely. Before we get him, can I go out there and talk to him? Well, I don't know that you want to do it out there, because there's a lot of people going through the halls. Should we bring him in here?
We'll step out.
Well, how about this? If we bring in your dad, will you promise me that you'll talk to him? I'll talk to him.
Hey Chris, we're gonna let you have however much time you need, okay?
Sure. Anybody was in there or no?
Yes.
Sure.
What's going on or?
It's polygraph. Failed it.
Is there any reason why they shouldn't?
Nothing. They know I had it there. And they know. I can't think about that.
Anything else you wanna tell me what's going on or what happened or anything? If you know anything about it?
I want to protect her.
What?
I want to protect her.
You don't wanna protect me? She hurt him?
Yeah.
Come on now.
Top matter.
You hurt her. So she killed her sister-in-law. Took her to death. You lost it in the choke. You took her or?
Mm-hmm. That's rage.
So when you do all the bodies off or something?
I mean, I didn't know what else to do. I
freaked
freaked out. I didn't know nothing else to do. What's that? You okay? You sure?
The walls close in.
While police were searching for his family, Chris Watts was texting Nicole Kessinger. Love messages, plans for the future. He even told her he had finally told Shanann he wanted a separation and that she had taken the kids to a friend's house. But Nicole had already seen the news. She called police herself. Investigators interviewed Chris on August 15th. This time, it was different. They told him they had found Shanann's phone. They told him surveillance cameras at the oil site showed his truck and that they were getting a warrant. Chris Watts broke. Here's where it gets truly disturbing. In an initial desperate lie, he told investigators, "I had an emotional conversation with Shanann that morning. I told her I wanted a separation. I went to check on the girls, and they were blue. Shanann had killed them. He blamed his own wife, his pregnant wife, for the murder of their daughters. Police didn't believe a word.
The confession and arrest.
On August 15th, 2018, 48 hours after Shanann was reported missing, Chris Watts was arrested and charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of unlawful termination of a pregnancy, and 3 counts of tampering with a deceased human body. He faced the death penalty. In November 2018, Chris Watts took a plea deal. He pleaded guilty to all counts, sparing him from execution. In exchange, he agreed to tell investigators the full truth about what happened that night. His new account was worse than anyone had imagined. He described strangling Shanann in detail. He described driving to the site with his daughters alive in the back seat. Bella asking, "Daddy, where are we going?" He described what he did to them after. In February 2019, a judge sentenced Chris Watts to 5 consecutive life sentences with no possibility of parole. As he was led from the courtroom, Shanann's mother stood up and said, "I want you to think about Bella and Celeste every day for the rest of your life." He said nothing.
Showing mercy on Mr. Watts is understood, and I respect that decision to request that the district attorney not seek the death penalty in this case. And so the court is going to accept this plea bargain under the circumstances. Words that come to mind when I hear the evidence in this case are a senseless crime and the viciousness of the crime. And equally aggravating in this court's determination is the despicable act of disposing of the bodies in the manner in which they were done in this case. I've been a judicial officer now for starting my 17th year, and I could objectively say that this is perhaps the most inhumane and vicious crime that I have handled out of the thousands of cases that I have seen. And nothing less than a maximum sentence would be appropriate, and anything less than the maximum sentence would depreciate the seriousness of this offense. So the court is going to sentence Mr. Watts as follows. With regard to count number 1, murder in the first degree as it relates to Shanann Watts, the court is going to sentence you, sir, to a life sentence in the Colorado Department of Corrections, followed with no possibility of parole. And that is going to run consecutively to all but counts 3 and 4. With regard to count 2, as it relates to murder in the first degree with Bella, the court is going to sentence you to life in the Colorado Department of Corrections with no possibility of parole. With regard to count number 3, the court is going to sentence you as it relates to Celeste to life in the Colorado Department of Corrections with no possibility of parole. With regard to counts 4 and 5 relating to Bella and Celeste as a different theory of first-degree murder, the court is going to sentence you to life in the Colorado Department of Corrections, and legally those sentences must run concurrently as a different theory of first-degree murder. Recognizing the unlawful termination of pregnancy for the unborn child that has been named Nico, the court absolutely believes that the maximum sentence of 48 years would be appropriate to run consecutive to the other charges, with an additional mandatory parole period of 3 years as set forth by statute. With regard to count number 7, as it relates to tampering with a deceased body, as well as counts 8 and 9, each a Class 3 felony, the court is going to impose a maximum sentence of 12 years each for those counts to run consecutively to the other counts. The court is going to order that the statutory fees be paid and court costs. The court's going to grant the prosecution 91 days to file a notice of restitution, and that will be the sentence of the court. We will shortly be in recess. I would respectfully ask the parties that you remain in your seat. There is a plan by the deputies on allowing people to exit the courtroom, so please remain seated until you are authorized to leave the courtroom based on the direction of the deputies. Deputies, I would respectfully ask that you take this defendant into custody and have him serve the rest of his life in the Department of Corrections. We are in recess.
Please rise.
The Chris Watts case shook the country not just because of its brutality, but because of how ordinary it looked from the outside. A suburban house, a smiling family, a husband who stood in front of cameras and cried. The most dangerous lies are the ones wrapped in a normal life. If this case hit you the way it hit me, I need you to hit that subscribe button, because this channel exists to make sure stories like this are never forgotten. Next week, we're going into a case that's even more disturbing and even less known. You don't want to miss it. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe.